shalom bimromav, yaseh shalom.
In September 2010, BBC, Reuters, and other news agencies reported a sensational scientific discovery. Researchers at the United States National Center for Atmospheric Research and the University of Colorado have shown, through computer simulation, how the division of the Red Sea may have taken place. By sophisticated modelling, they've demonstrated how a strong east wind blowing overnight could have pushed water back at a bend where an ancient river is believed to have merged with a coastal lagoon. 63-mile-an-hour winds from the east could have pushed the water back at an ancient riverbed. The river would then have been pushed into the two channels, and a land bridge would have opened at the bend, allowing people to walk across the exposed mud flats. As soon as the wind died down, the waters would have rushed back in. And as the leader of the project said, when the scientific report was published, the simulations match fairly closely with the account in Exodus. So now we have scientific evidence to support the biblical account, though to be fair, a very similar case was made some years ago by Colin Humphreys, professor of material science at Cambridge University and professor of experimental physics at the Royal Institution in London, in his book, The Miracles of Exodus. To me, though, the real issue is actually to discover what the biblical account actually is, because it's just here that we have one of the most fascinating features of the way the Torah tells its story. Here is the key passage. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with the water as a wall on their right and on their left. Now that passage can be understood two ways. The first is that what happened was a suspension of the laws of nature. It was a supernatural event. The waters literally stood like a wall. That doesn't happen naturally. But the second way of reading it is that what happened was miraculous, not because laws of nature were suspended. To the contrary, as the computer simulation shows, the exposure of dry land at that particular point in the Red Sea was a natural outcome of a strong east wind. There was nothing supernatural about it at all. What made it miraculous is that it happened just there, just then, when the Israelites seemed trapped, unable to go forward because of the sea, unable to turn back because of the Egyptian army pursuing them. Now there is a very significant difference between these two interpretations. The first, the supernatural one, appeals to our sense of wonder. How extraordinary that the laws of nature should be suspended to allow an escaping people to go free. It's a story designed to appeal to the imagination of a child. But the naturalistic explanation is wondrous at another level altogether. Here the Torah is using the device of irony. You see, what made the Egyptians of the time of Ramses so formidable was that they possessed the latest and most powerful form of military technology, the horse-drawn chariot. That made them unbeatable in battle and fearsome. Now, what happens at the sea is poetic justice of the most exquisite kind. There is only one circumstance in which a group of people travelling on foot can escape from a highly trained army of charioteers, namely when the route passes through a muddy sea bed. The people can walk across, but the chariot wheels get stuck in the mud. The Egyptian army can neither advance nor retreat. The wind drops, the water returns. The powerful are now powerless, while the powerless have made their way to freedom. That second way of reading the narrative has a moral depth and subtlety that the first doesn't. And of course it resonates with the message of Tehillim, the book of Psalms that we say every day in our morning service. His pleasure is not in the strength of the horse, nor his delight in the legs of a warrior, The Lord delights in those who fear him, who put their hope in his unfailing love. The elegantly simple way in which the division of the Red Sea is described in the Torah so that it can be read at two quite different levels, one as a supernatural miracle, the other as a moral tale about the limits of technology when it comes to the strength of nations, that to me is genius. That is striking. It's a text quite deliberately written so that our understanding of it can mature as we mature. And we're no longer interested in the mechanics of miracles, but much more interested in how freedom is won or lost. So it's very good to know how the division of the sea happened, but there remains a depth to the biblical story that can never be exhausted by computer simulations or any other historical or scientific evidence, and that is its deliberate and delicate ambiguity. Just as ruach, a physical wind, can part the waters and expose the land beneath, so ruach, the human spirit, can expose, beneath the surface of the story, a deeper meaning beneath. Shabbat Shalom.